So here we go. So today really made me very sad. Um, Makes me very sad that I just feel like we can't talk to each other anymore. I feel like no one has any ability to see gray anymore. We're reverting to the tribal minds that are better left in Africa at the beginning of our evolution, and we're reverting to it for some reason. We're reverting to name calling and mudslinging. We're reverting to just pure us versus them. We're reverting to moral panic. We're reverting to name calling. We're reverting to false dichotomy, which is probably the most frightening thing. And I see a lot of people who are very mentally sick and averse to getting better. And what I mean by that is this not this unwillingness to hear opposing views. This unwillingness to even listen to people who think differently than you. And that is mental illness. When you're not mentally well, this is psychotherapy 101. So when you're not mentally well, so this is why this whole thing about, oh, X should not be allowed, you shouldn't be allowed to say that, blah blah blah, is very dangerous. Because all it does is just worsen the pathology. That's all it does. It's just worsen the pathology. And so when you're not treating the pathology and it's just getting worse, but you're made to feel like you're winning. It's like, okay, what the fuck are you winning exactly? I don't understand. You're shutting people down. You're worsening your own pathology. You're sick and you don't even fucking realize it. And we can't even give you the truth of penicillin because you're so convinced that we're trying to fucking murder you. And when I say we at this point, I'm referring to anyone basically. So, and this is the other thing, is like the whole thing now is anyone who didn't vote for Hillary Clinton is a fucking fascist. And this is just all bad. This is just very dangerous. And I don't like the historical, where it's ended historically and where it's bound to end up going now. Um, so I'm sorry, I'm just really scattered. I'm just really sad about all this, honestly, guys. It really weighs on me because I believe so much in being able to talk and being able to communicate and being able and helping people through communication, because that's my job. That's what I do every day. That's what I do every day. And the whole idea that shutting things down is going to make things better is just totally wrong-headed. And I'm speaking from the point of view of the clinician now that I am. So when people speak, you need to listen. You need to respond to them. You don't ignore them. You don't shut them down. Because if you do that, then they will act. I'm trying to speak to you. I'm trying to be listened to. I'm trying to be understood. This is a need I have. I'm communicating something to you because I want you to hear it. You're not going to listen? Okay, I'm going to knock that thing of blocks over there over. Or I'm going to hit someone. I'm going to, I'm going to start saying more outlandish things, and you're still not going to listen. You're still not going to give me attention. Okay, then I'm going to have to shoot someone. And the best way to challenge people's delusions, challenge people's pathologies, is to talk. This is the basis, the entire fucking basis of therapy. Is you go into therapy, you talk to your fucking therapist, they ask you why you feel that way, you explain, and then they very gently turn things around through Socratic reasoning and conversation. And if you've been in therapy a while, you know what they're doing. It's awesome. Not that it's sinister, because it's not. But what I mean by that is, so some tools that we have to help better understand our ourselves and our own irrationalities. Um, One of the tools is removing the charge of things. And this is something I like to do a lot of. Um, and what I mean by that is, if you're talking about something that's like really a really charged subject, what I like to do is, first I like to remove the charge, but then on the other end I like to like charge it up all the way. So I'll give you an example. So I mean, ostensibly anyway, fired from a job that I was in training for 2 fucking days. They said that I was engaging in an inappropriate conversation. But it's a conversation that I wasn't having. A resident was having with me. And so they said it was inappropriate, and they said the conversation continued on, therefore I'm not allowed to work there anymore. And they didn't ask me anything. It was not very mature. Um, anyway, so and what that whole thing boiled down to was this resident was discussing an interest with me. So devoid the charge. He was talking about guns. This was in a mental health facility. He was talking about guns, okay? So, but we'll devoid the charge of it. He was talking to me about an interest he has. Now, I would be a fucking dick if I said, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about something else, blah, blah, blah. But I was monitoring the conversation. I was listening to it. I was making a connection. I was not ignoring him. And so, if he had said, the real reason I have all these fucking guns, right? It's because of the coons and the fucking kikes. Then I would have been like, okay, you and me outside. That's not appropriate. We're going to have words. It would be like, so now let's take the charge out of it. It'd be like if he was talking about butterflies and like someone has like a butterfly phobia. Like, that person can leave the room if it makes them uncomfortable. Uh, and furthermore, he's not saying, oh, that person over there is such a pussy because he is afraid of butterflies or whatever. And now let's add the charge and just crank it up full throttle. So, like, if someone is, like, really interested in Adolf Hitler and, like, had a lot of knowledge about Adolf Hitler, first of all, that would be, like, really fucking fascinating to me. If someone, like, knows somehow, like, really intimate details of Adolf Hitler's life and, like, is just a fucking encyclopedia of Hitler, I would really like to talk to that person. However, as soon as they say, well, Hitler had the right idea, then things go a little bit too far and we need to have a talk. um, and so that goes to this whole idea of words as dangerous. And words aren't dangerous. Uh-oh. I'm sorry, we're freezing the YouTube. Okay, there we go. And so, and that goes to this whole idea that words are dangerous, and words aren't dangerous. They're not. When was the last time someone said something to you that impoverished you or enriched you financially? When was the last time someone said something to you that broke your jaw or bashed your skull in with a brick or gave you influenza? You can't tell me a time that a word gave you influenza or, made it, or caved in your skull with a brick or impoverished or, what's the word? Enriched you financially. You can't tell me the last time that happened, because that's never happened. No one's words have ever physically harmed someone or made someone's life worse. Statues are not the reason that you're miserable. Like, and that goes to a larger point that, like, so after this weekend, I kind of feel like shit. Like, I really do, because it's like the fucking worst of humanity. And for people who don't have anything, for people who just have lies that they're given, for people who, hate their fucking lives, hate themselves, hatred is hatred is not a very useful emotion, but it can be a very addictive emotion if you're not mentally stable. And I'm very fortunate that I have work that I do that enriches my soul and nourishes my spirit. If I can be a bit hippy dippy about it. And it's because of that that I stay sane. And that was the reason, like, when I went to sleep, a few hours ago, and I was like, all right, when we go to work tomorrow, your whole life will be better. Because it will. Because I'm going to get to change someone's life, and I'm going to get to make an impact on adorable little kids, and I'm going to see their smiling faces, and my life's going to be a lot better. But not everyone has that, and it's really sad. It does make me really sad. Not everyone has a job that they like. Not everyone has a family that loves them. So all they have is this pathology, this illness, this fucking hatred. But instead of talking about their pathology, their illness, their hatred, all they want to do is push people away or push bricks into people's heads. And the sad thing is that they're just worsening their pathology. Like I said earlier, the best way to challenge those thoughts is to speak them aloud. And the best way to learn things are to speak, listen, and understand. And don't think for a second that you can't learn anything from Antifa or from fucking Nazis. Because you can. If nothing else, you learn how to be a better person, more cogently argue. Don't think that you can't learn anything from a moderate liberal or a moderate conservative or a libertarian or an anarcho-capitalist or a minarchist. Don't think you can learn anything from any one person or any group of people. That's the biggest... Oh, hang on. Our YouTube stopped. Damn it! Well, what the fuck? No, the stream is not complete. Hang on, boys and girls of Instagram. It's reconnecting here. This is bullshit. I should have just recorded this shit. This makes me kind of upset, honestly. I'll probably do a video on it on YouTube, and we'll call it a day. It'll be without the rambling and whatnot, and the booze and stuff. Well, shit. Looks like my YouTube might be toast, but we'll continue on. Anyways, what I was saying was, don't think that you can't learn anything from X, from, this person, that person, this group, that group. That's the biggest mistake you can make in your life, is thinking that you can't learn anything from anyone. And that's, again, another part of mental illness, is thinking you can't learn anything from anyone. You can learn something from every single person you meet. If nothing else, you learn how to more cogently argue, how to be a better person. And those are lessons always worth learning or reaffirming, frankly. And if you don't think those are lessons worth learning or reaffirming, then you're just as sick as they are. Just as sick, if not more so, frankly. Then the idea that bashing someone's head in with a brick for talking is going to A, change their mind, or B, make your life better, is utterly insane. Because neither of those will happen. Your life will be made worse, and that's not going to change their mind. It won't. I referenced this earlier. I think after this, I think I'll make one more point, and then I'll just go the fuck on. But Shit, I just had it. I just had it and it just left. It just fluttered away like a little cute butterfly. Um, yeah. So this whole idea of saying, oh, X not worth listening to, let's fucking bash his head in with a brick or whatever, or let's not let him speak, that doesn't do anyone any good. The best way to challenge someone's pathology, and let's be very clear about this, thinking that, X doesn't have a right to exist, should have their own land, is a pathology. It isn't a healthy way of thinking in today's society. Nor is it uh, nor is it particularly rational, um, and that is a pathology. But thinking that not letting them talk or not talking to them is going to shut them or is going to change their mind is just an utterly flawed idea. Just thoroughly flawed. The only way to change their mind is to discuss with them and bring up points that they never even thought about before. And this is why I'm relating it all to mental health, is because it is mental health. In fact, let's change the name of this video. Anyways, it is all related to mental health. And if you don't ever go to therapy, if you don't ever seek treatment, if you don't ever get treatment, or if treatment is denied to you, then you're going to be sick. You're going to be sick for a very long time. And your sickness is going to get worse, much worse. And then you're going to fucking die. So I prefer that everyone is allowed to get their penicillin of truth and discussion and thought than not. Because if I never went to therapy, I'd be depressed and would have fucking killed myself. And that would really be a fucking shame for all the people that I've helped. It would really be a shame for me, more importantly, because I'd have missed out on all the people that I've met and helped. But it would be a shame for them as well. And if you don't want to be depressed anymore, if you don't want to be hateful anymore, then talk to someone. And your life is going to get a lot better. This is really not that fucking difficult. It's really not. That's what I was going to say. So I kind of touched on this earlier, and then I strayed away from it. But therapists, clinicians, what have you, their whole point is to get you to examine your thoughts and examine yourself. Um, that's what I was going to say. So like I went over one of the ways that I like to do that, which is to both remove the emotional from a conversation, topic, subject at hand, what have you, and then on the other end, in the next breath, I like to ramp it up all the way, just to show like the absurdity. So that's one thing I like to do. Another thing I like to do is make things personal. Once you make things personal, because everyone is living in the depersonalized, right? This is the rules for radicals. This is how people fucking take to the streets and call people Nazis and bash people's heads in with bricks. It's because they depersonalize. So I like to personalize. I was really mad today. I couldn't get the guy who asked me what organization I was with. I shook his hand. I told him my name. I should have asked him to take his glasses off so I could look him in the eyes. He had little dopey like 3-year-old sunglasses on. But if he couldn't give me his name, there's no way he was going to take off his sunglasses. But well, the first thing, so there were a few things. It's like the first thing is that he approached me and stood to my side, which on one level I understand, because coming face to face with someone can be seen as confrontational, and if you don't know the threat to someone, then it's best to be on the side. Which again, this is part of what I do, so I understand that. So I started talking to him, and then I stopped myself and I said, "I'm sorry, let me face you," and I I pivoted and faced him, and I shook his hand, and I told him my name, and he didn't tell me his name, which is really sad. He didn't want to know my name. He didn't want me to know his name, and there was going to be no way he was going to take off those sunglasses, even if I asked. Um, so I like to personalize. Um, and then I like to I like to play things out logically. Uh, these are good ways of, I will give a couple examples of both how I've seen therapists do this and then how I like to do it. So the personalized, I gave one example. So I'll give a therapeutic example. A while ago, I have this new therapist, and I was talking to her, and I relayed something that my father once said to me, which is that times change, people don't. And what my father meant, I'm fairly certain, and I'm sure he got this from his father, uh, is that people en masse, the patterns of human beings as a whole homogenous group, humanity, don't change. Um, and whether that's true or not, I mean, I kind of believe it is. Um, but so I said this to my therapist, and I think my thinking up to that point was that, X, at least when I was talking about this specific individual, is that, X is not going to change. And my therapist looked at me and she said, Matt, do you think you can change? And I smiled as soon as she said it because I saw exactly what she was doing. And I laughed and I chuckled. And I'm pretty sure she saw exactly why I chuckled. And so she smiled. And then I was like, well, shit, yeah, of course I can fucking change. I mean, and so it was at that point that it was like, oh, yeah, X, this individual can change, but they have to want to. And I mean, on the same token, as far as my father's thing, society can change, but it has to want to. But humanity as a whole hive, I don't know if humanity can actually change. Because, I mean, that's a pretty tall order. What exactly does that mean, right? Anyways. Um, so, discharging and then hypercharging, I guess is what we'll call that. Making things personal and then playing things out. Um, so an example of playing things out. Um, there's this regressive tribalist that I've mentioned a few times on this channel here, um, who is like utterly convinced that I'm a racist and is totally playing into this false dichotomy and moral panic games that are going on in society, which is really unfortunate. Um, and it's like, what would you, and doesn't believe that people should talk and be allowed to talk and have their pathologies challenged, as I mentioned. Um, and it's really unfortunate. And so, what I like to do is say, okay, what would you have me do if someone called you a nigger and said you should be in chains and shipped back to Africa? Should I attempt to beat them up? I would likely get my ass kicked. I'd likely get killed, and then you'd get killed or fucking raped or something. Or I'd end up in jail. Or I could kill that person, and now they've lost a life. If they have a family, their family member has lost someone. If they have a job, their job has lost someone. And my ass will go to jail. Or we could both go about our day. Sorry, there's one more option before that. Or I could ask them why they thought that was an appropriate comment to make, and then we can engage in dialogue, and then maybe it might not lead somewhere, but it's less likely to lead to violence. It's more likely to lead to a constructive conversation than to violence and loss of life and liberty, but it still might not get anywhere. That's always the option to pursue, by the way. When someone says something, is to say something back and attempt to have a conversation. And if it's clear a conversation can't be had, then move on. And then once hands are put on, then do whatever you need to do to make sure that you are not harmed. up to and including burying someone if your life is in immediate danger and you can't escape. Or, so let's kill someone, let's assault someone, let's try to talk to someone, or let's go home. Go about our lives. Be sad that such ignorance exists. But guess what? You can't erase ignorance. You can't erase ignorance ever. You won't. That hurt my neck. You won't get rid of ignorance. You won't get rid of hatred. You won't get rid of bigotry. You can't. Because those are human categorizations, manifestations, what have you, of a naturally occurring phenomenon, which happens in all shades and stripes and to varying degrees. And at the smallest degree, it's a mere wariness of an other. At its largest degree, it's fucking murder and genocide and shit. You can stop murder and genocide, but you can't stop thought. You can't. So don't fucking try. Talk instead. That's how you change thought. Because you can't stop thought, but you can change it. Thought is like water. It's always going to be moving. It's always going to be flowing. And you can't stop that. But you can change it by talking. And this is why I've been signing off all my videos with speak, listen, and understand. So that's all for now. Speak, listen, understand. Don't throw rocks. Don't run people over with cars. Be nice. Talk to people. Use force only when you have to. First and foremost, speak, listen, understand. These are odd times indeed, my friends. Stay safe. And hopefully stay tuned. And I'll see you around the way.